viewers, and welcome to Cleveland TV. This is Afro Politics, open discussion on Cleveland TV. My name is AJ. I'm your host or anchor to this program. This afternoon, we have a special guest in our midst. His name is Honorable Ekos, Akpokabayen. He's our special guest this afternoon. Honorable Ekos is the chairman, PDP South Africa. He's a businessman. Will be taking us through this afternoon in this open discussion. And I'm going to give him the opportunity to tell us who he is. Before we go there, Cleveland TV is an online platform, TV platform that actually seeks to highlight Africans and celebrate their achievement, both in abroad and in diaspora. That's our business here. And I would like to take this time to encourage our viewers to subscribe to cleveland.com so that we'll have the opportunity to have a live view during this discussion. Okay, Honorable Ekos Akpokabayen, you're welcome. You are the PDP chairman of South Africa. In your own words, I know you're a businessman. I've known you for so many years in South Africa, even though we've not been privileged to have this kind of conversation. But I know you've been doing exploit in different quarters before now. So who is Honorable Ekos Akpokabayen?
Thank you so much. I'll use this opportunity to thank Cleveland TV for the works you have been doing, especially this moment we're having elections in Nigeria, critical moment. So I thank you guys for the tax is not easy. So I thank you for giving me the platform and opportunity to express some of my views. My name, like you said, is Mr. Ekos Judah Akpokabayen. Originally from Delta State. I've been a diasporan here in South Africa for about 22 years now. And like you have said, I'm an entrepreneur, but also now a banker now, an investment banker at the moment. I'm also the chairperson of PDP South Africa. In 2011, I was elected to be the deputy chairperson of South Africa. And then we had Goodluck Jonathan as the president, and that was my in the leadership of the China in South Africa. And then in 2016, I was elected to be the chairman. And it was a very difficult time in our party and our history, especially when we had been used to being in power in Nigeria. And then again, I was elected in 2021, just about 2 years, barely a year and a few months ago, again as the chairman of PDP South Africa. So this is my second tenure. Well, a lot of people know me. Sometimes I'm very careful to separate politics and business and the work I do in South Africa and the community as a philanthropist or assisting Nigerian cause and organization. And I've extended that into the continent. I also refer myself as a Pan-Africanist. But in terms of business, I've always been concerned. Sometimes it's, most politicians go into politics because of business. So I've been successful in business. I'm going into politics because I care for the people, not for business. Because I've been successful in the many business venture. I've been from real estate to petroleum to IT schools, and some of the businesses I run in this country and elsewhere. I've been quite successful. And so when I go into politics, I just want to give back because I understand that it's important to go into this leadership structure in Africa because there's not enough good people there trying to, represent us.
Thank you. You're welcome to the program. We know the nature of our country, and also we know the political tension in Nigeria that is so real. We also know that Nigeria has a history of violence in election or during election, and also dodgy election. And it's quite a challenge. This time, we're also going into another election. There are some fears there, here and there. Are we going to experience another one? What we expect? Will the verdict be delivered to the winner? And all of that, will the mandate be given to the winner at the end of the day? Will there be another tribunal at the end of the day that will overturn whatever that will come out, or the outcome that will be the outcome of this election? So many questions out there. Before we go into this discussion proper, I would like to ask you as a chairperson of PDP South Africa, what is your plan in sensitizing Nigerians in diaspora concerning your party as a party leader?
Look, what is important? There are a lot of things when you talk about community, nation, and for example, what you are doing is a very good job. And most times, we don't have the tools to measure some of the things we do. Most times, that's why they say the people deserve the leaders they have. So we're talking about 200 million people. Of course, you will see some dissidents. You will see some packet of disruption. I'm telling you, for that, I'm coming from a background, I'm a mathematician, and we come off a background of history and maths, and I've used that in my business and in politics. And most times we get swayed with one or two talks that is not enough in the population. So you need to take a bigger population side to see the fear. But recently, I was in Abuja not long ago, and there was even a report from the British intelligence, and I was privileged with that information that there will be disruption in Nigeria by October. We didn't see that, and I argued that we're not going to see that. We've seen messages in 2015 that Nigeria would be a failed state, it was going to divide from the US government. We didn't see that. We've seen many disruption, even NSAS, it did not implode the country. We've seen IPOP, we've seen a lot of disturbance. And here's an election. But what a lot of us have forgotten, in 2021, it was a very critical moment for our country, where we had the spring of the big IPOP movement, the Yoruba nations, the Arewa, and all this kind of divide, and Boko Haram was everywhere. I think for now, even if we in opposition, we think the government has done very well to put Nigeria in a state where even all of us are talking about election. The people are not talking about election are just a little small part of it. Nigeria is going to go into the election, and who wins is going to stand. I have no doubt about that. I've seen the signs everywhere. We've seen the metrics. We've seen the data. It's not going to happen. Nothing is going to disrupt us. We're in a better position right now. We're excited. In terms of myself, like having the opportunity on this channel, speaking to Nigerians daily, attending functions, we've been speaking to our people, although we've been doing much more work in Nigeria, because in diaspora, we're in diaspora. The heat is going to be in Nigeria. The election is in Nigeria. Myself, I'll be in Nigeria in the next couple of days to be there throughout the election. So we continue to do this work. And this work, when you do this work, we understand what it means. When you can touch one soul or touch one voice, you don't need to touch a million before you think you're working. And that's what I do every day when I wake up. That's what I do in my home. Everybody who wants to hear. Sometimes it's boring to their ears, but we have to do that. It's a gospel for me.
Yeah, I for sure, I know that. I know you're a gentleman. Apart from being a business person in South Africa, I live in this environment, and I can tell. So I've known you for a long time, though from a distance. You're someone that minds your business, apart from being the party chairperson. Someone that focuses on your business, trying to do what is needful when it's most needed. At this point, before we continue, I would like to ask you this question. Okay. Just before we're going to continue discussion, let's go for a break. When we return, we'll be able to look into other things that we have. It's still Afro discussion on Criminal TV. We'll return, we'll continue. Thank you.
Clevenard in Diaspora Television is an internet online TV service. What sets us apart is a unique combination of hit African content, first and exclusive international free movies, series, musics, news, events, documentaries, tourism, teleshopping shows, youth TV programs, and live interviews. Clevenard Diaspora Television is available throughout sub-Saharan Africa and to the diaspora markets worldwide. Take your entertainment with you wherever you go. Watch on your smartphone, tablet, laptop, smart TV, depending on your device. Watch free movies with Clevenard Movies Television. Stop searching for free movies websites and watch Clevenard Movies Television. Watch your favorite African shows anywhere at any time. Don't forget to check out our top 5 TV channels created to get you informed. TV1, Clevenard in Diaspora Television. TV2, Clevenard Youth Television. TV3, Clevenard Movies Television. TV4, Clevenard Teleshopping Television. TV5, Clevenard Tourism Television. To start watching, sign up at www.clevenard.com and follow the easy steps. Once you're done, log into the Clevenard website or app on your device, click on any one of our 5 TV channels, and hit play. We will be very satisfied and happy to welcome you to our team as one of our new business partners. Contact info@clevenard.com +34 631 279811. Website www.clevenard.com.
Okay. Hello viewers, you're welcome back. This is Clevenard TV in Diaspora. My name is Ekos. I'm your anchor to this program. It's Afro discussion panel this afternoon. And today we have a special guest in our midst by name Honorable Ekos Akpokabayen. He is the chairperson of PDP South Africa. Honorable Ekos is a businessman, as you have heard him say, and he's also privileged to lead PDP South Africa. We have him this afternoon to take us through on some of the important questions we're posing to him today. You're welcome back, Honorable Ekos Akpokabayen. You're welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes. Just before we go on a break, I was just looking at how you've been able to arouse or rally people in this part of the world, South Africa. I know it's not easy to bring people together in South Africa. And you've been able to do that for a couple of years. PDP have come to stay in South Africa. We witnessed that PDP existed in this country before any other party affiliation from Nigeria. And I don't know how you managed to keep that going, to keep the pace for these years. So what is the experience like?
Yes, it's like you've mentioned, it's very difficult, but even waking up and sleeping has been very difficult. So I don't take difficulty to be an option in anything I engage in. What I would say is that, of course, many things must drive a person, especially as a leader. And I've studied many leaders from history, even from the Bible to the Romans, to the Greeks, to the Africans, and many likes, like even Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Martin Luther King, and all the likes. And I wrote a book as well called The Next Best Thing. When you look at leadership, each individual has different leadership qualities, and you must understand at each time the world will need different leadership to drive its people. And in my case, when I look at our political sphere, I knew that at one point I will have to engage myself, and I was talked into engaging myself. I spoke to a man called Robert Marewe many years ago. He was one of the people that was opposed to Robert Mugabe. And he told me very clearly, he said, if you want to change a ship, a boat, a bus where a driver is driving, it's better for you to be inside the bus so that you can tell the driver that is driving badly. And this was one of the reasons that enforced me to get myself involved in a major political party at the time. And I've stayed put to learn many of the things we need to learn to understand. And the opportunities that when I speak, because most of the time there's nothing hidden, I do my business. I see some of these folks in power, and those don't interest me. What interests me is to learn. And so because of that, when I speak to people, they can see the genuity that I want to carry this knowledge to normal people, how things work in government, some of the challenges. Because many of the challenges people think the people or the politicians or people in power, some of them are not, they're baseless. And a lot of them are true, by the way. But because of this learning, I'm able to teach people, and people want to hear you speak. People want to see how your own leadership, they want to be around you to learn. And when you finish learning, you pass and you graduate. And guess what? The people you serve will benefit. The nation will benefit. So I've been in a much learning course. I'm still learning. engaging, and I try to be original to the people. And of course, you have to show care. You have to show care in their personal lives. You have to have a listening ear, which I'm good in. People will call me on their own personal issues. We have to listen to them. We have to assist, take some of my process in business and help party members, help the party, just to make sure we have something people can look up to. And this journey has been coming in my lifestyle, even right when I was in Unilag. So I just kept building up on it. And the reception I receive from those who listen to me and those who I lead is very overwhelming. And that's what encourages me to continue to do what I do.
Okay, thank you. I live in South Africa, like I said, and you live in South Africa as well. Being a businessman in South Africa, we know the terrain in South Africa, how it looks like. And the South African case is peculiar, it has its own peculiar issues, unlike someone in Europe. And we can attest to that. If you look at organs in South Africa, not just the political affiliation, not just about PDP and other political affiliation, but if you look at other organs that we have, whether it's community organ or what do you call it, state organs, those community organs, state organs, and state union or whatever they call them, another organization that emanates from our country that exists in this place. If you look at them, you find out that there is always crisis within these organizations, and this crisis boils down to leadership. Leadership deficiency, lack of leadership. Sometimes infighting, trying to people fighting, trying to assume the position of leader. Most of the times, I feel it's more of position than leading, taking a lead. Now, I want to know, why is it that in PDP we've not really had so much about that? This leadership tussles breaking into pieces like we've seen in other affiliations in South Africa in recent times. What is the motivation behind you being able to keep together this structure called PDP in South Africa till date?
Yeah, thank you. Look, thank you for that. There are many factors. I hear you say we have leadership problem, but I also think we have followership problem. It comes in both ways. And there's a research that, which sometimes I don't want to agree with, because we enforce those kind of results and make them true. And that research is saying Black people like to tear other Black people down because they think if a Black person is there, I can do it better. And we've seen that. But it's something I try to oppose. But it's not in terms of color. What has happened, and I have studied it, is that because we've been an oppressed people, we've been a colonized people, there's certain hate in us. We always think we have to prove a point. We always think it's nice to have these positions of power and be known, and it creates a lot of ego and pride to our people. And we see this everywhere. For example, there was a time I was watching a white guy who came to Nigeria and he was making a joke. And it says if a Nigerian pilot is entering the plane, he wants to let you know he's the pilot because he feels he has studied so much. And people laughed about it. And those kind of things, when I look about it, we're so proud, but sometimes we take it overboard. And that's why in leadership, we tussle for it. We tussle even when we don't need it. And we see that in Nigeria. It's just that in Nigeria, people have their hands in the coffers of government. And because I know these things, I'm able to bring humility into the scene. I'm able to remove ego. I'm able to bring simplicity. And when people want to come with all their kind of fight to tear down, we're able to don't give room for that. Give them love, give them care, give them understanding, because I know people are dying for it. I know that because, for example, I didn't know I was privileged growing up because my father was in the military. He had access to a lot of opportunity and traveling. Only when I came to South Africa and somebody came to me and said, I never drank juice till I was an adult. Someone told me I never celebrated my birthday until I was 30 years old. Some people, they were 40 years old. So sometimes when we talk about the Black people, we miss the simple humanity that make them turn like this. Sometimes we tear all these things apart. People have been deprived over time, even bad leaders or being a colonized nation. And many of these children have grown up to be adult, to have hate. And one of the ways out is position and to fight. And that's the way they know it. And when you give them something else, and because we know this, we're able to keep people within the ranks of our party. We're able to keep people, remove their ego, massage their ego when needed, because sometimes it costs nothing. Sometimes it costs nothing to say good morning, how are you, and take a phone call and call somebody. It's not a big deal. And I've been able to do that in every level. And that's why you don't see all the rancor you see in PDP South Africa.
Thank you. Yes, I quite agree with you because leadership is something that is very sensitive because in leadership, you either expose your strength or you expose your weaknesses. That's what leadership does. And in most cases, why these people are trying to express or portray their ego, they showcase their weaknesses and just showing people how not to lead and how they're not good in that position. But in your case, you've been very calm and there have not been so much noise. You hardly appear on set, not really seeing you much on set, but I know you're working there. I know you're doing something. And how do I know? Because PDP have been intact. That shows that you're taking the lead. Unlike people who just want to be on set, but when you look at the structure, nothing is going on there. It's full of crisis. So now I would like us to look at PDP proper from Nigeria as a body party now. The thing is, many people are asking questions, Nigerians are asking questions. What is the plan of PDP for Nigerians come February 2022? Let's assume PDP wins the election next month. What would be their plan for Nigeria at this time when we need so much from not just the party, our leaders at every space and quarter? Because we have insecurity, there is political tension, civil unrest, there is this kidnapping and human acts of terrorism that is happening in Nigeria. These things were not there before, but in recent times, we've seen something we have never experienced since the session of Nigeria. What do you think about your party? What are your plans? How do you think you can cut these menaces, societal menaces, and restore our social fabrics in Nigeria? Should you be given the mandate next month?
Okay. Just for your information, I'm also a member of the Presidential Campaign Council. I was made a member last year. And also in the States, I'm also head of diaspora in the Delta State Governorship Campaign Council and all the like. So we've put in so much effort more in Nigeria in this election because we know how much important it is. Just to before I answer your question, because of my background, I'm a mathematician and an historian. So what we do is that we don't ignore data. We look at data from the past and sometimes we project the future. And a lot of things that are happening, even politically, we were almost 80% correct. And people will argue before then, but everything is playing out now. Basically, when the current president came into power, we knew Nigeria was in trouble. But it's difficult because you're an opposition party. People think it's politics, but we knew. Right now, I've had more experience, more knowledge, look into other countries. When I travel to other countries, I don't go around shopping. I try to look at their leaders and try to understand how they deal with public issues. Because I understand when I deal with issues in my home, it's going to be different when I deal with issues in public. And sometimes people want to take private issues, how they deal it in their home, and they don't understand how it shouldn't work in the public. For one example, I tell to people before I come to your question, if you in your house, you'll be sure that no one can mess your toilet. You're sure. But in a public place, you can't believe it because people will be drunk, all kinds of people will come in, people are not mentally stable, all kinds of things. So when you deal with public, you have to understand those things will happen. And your solution in the public of maintaining a public toilet cannot be the same solution you use and maintain it in your house or in your office. And so this is what we learn in public, dealing with public and public issues. And why I'm saying that is that the way I look at Nigeria and the way I've studied Nigeria and my choices, even being in PDP, I'm very confident and very hopeful for our nation. It's not the same with many people. And one of the reasons is that a lot of people are interested in Nigeria, especially actively every 4 years. I'm interested in Nigeria every day. and I learn about Nigeria every day. And there are also other people that do so, to be fair. But I try to, even when I'm in Nigeria, I try to go to holiday in places I'm not from. In fact, I was in one of the places and people thought I'm from there. They're speaking the language. I say, no, I'm coming for holiday. They were shocked, and people were parading me all over the place that in Nigeria, coming to holiday in Nigeria when you're not from here. And this is the kind of person I am, trying to understand my nation. And we have a country of 220 million people, 36 states. Is quite difficult. And the way people are thinking the solutions will come is not that way. And what PDP has done is to look at the structure of the entire country. And when it says Nigeria, it's not talking about Lagos. It's not talking about Abuja. It's talking about Nigeria. It needs to restructure, recover the country. We have policies, we have a roadmap, it is well clear defined, and we have people that want to push it. And there's no other time in the history that I'm so hopeful that I belong to the right power of people, not wishful thinking, but people that want to take the rooms and repair. We have a debt crisis. Like you said, we have insecurity crisis. We've tabled how we're going to solve these issues, not by talking about individual. Not when you ask me how you're going to solve security issues, I'll tell you, well, go and check my character. Go and check my character. This is not what we are talking about. We're talking about how to do it. We have to synthesize stakeholders from religious leaders, from traditional leaders, from stakeholders. We have to go around the country. There has to be some form of restructuring of Nigeria. People have to feel that they own a stake in Nigeria. And that's what PDP is saying. That's what the ticket of Atiku Okowa is saying they're going to do. And there's no healing thing. When you hear that, you're impressed and you're surprised why people don't listen to all these things. How are we going to solve the energy crisis? We have tabled it. We have looked at it. Our principal has said what the model we're having is not working. It's not worked for 60 years. It's not worked since independence. You cannot depend on one power production in Nigeria. We have to divide it. We have to use dams. We have to use windmill. We have to use solar, depending on which side of the country. There cannot be one central dam for the whole country. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable. No major country does that. And you're seeing solutions. How are you going to deal with corruption? There will be institutions that need to be strengthened. And all of this, we tabled step by step how these things will be done. I think you understand that PDP, we've done it before. We were not perfect. People complained. They thought it's easy. They've taken us backwards. We are ready back to reclaim, restart, and to move forward.
Okay, thank you. And now, when it comes to structure within the PDP, we have an impending problem in PDP at the moment because at the national level, the PDP has not been able to put together its structures to be on the same page. For example, when you look at some governors who are strong or staunch supporters of PDP, recently they are having issues, and as I speak now, I have no idea if those issues are solved. So now, there is this question people are asking: how will PDP be able to put together the Nigerian populace? Looking at the massive number of people we have in Nigeria, we have over 220 million people, different diverse ethnicity and tongues, and what do you call it, religious affiliations and all of the traditions. These are the things that are motive issues that divide us the more. Now, if PDP is having problems within their own structures and they've not been able to put themselves together to face the upcoming election, how are Nigerians going to trust PDP to be able to manage the affairs of Nigeria beyond February 2023, should they win the election? That's a very critical question. People want to know how you're going to do that.
Okay, look, sometimes you can't win everything, and you have to take a stand as a leader, whether you like it or not. We've seen this internationally. I've seen it with Nelson Mandela and all these things. There's no way in leadership, in a democracy, you can satisfy everybody. But I want to correct you saying that we don't have a structure. That's not correct. We need to be very careful about that. You must understand that in our party constitution, we were in power for most of the years. PDP was in power for about 16 years. and PDP is in opposition. And many in the quarters were pushing that what is important is for PDP to take the power back. Because even if you know the truth in black and white, in politics it's not easy. There's a lot of factors. So you focus on your machinery to gain the power. And where this problem started was zoning the chairmanship 2 years ago. What zone was it to go? And there were some governors who went quickly and brought somebody from the middle belt who was partly from the north and brought him as a governor. And they assumed that the presidency must come from the north. And we knew that this problem was coming. But what did the party do? The party formed a committee to look into the zoning, whether it was right to continue with the zoning for the presidency to come from the north. It was very dicey because the Southeast were complaining that they needed the presidency. And the party doesn't microzone. The party zones from north to south. And then some in the north said, look, if we're going to give it to the south because of zoning, we're giving it to the south because of the southeast. If they don't tell us that it's going to go to the southeast, then we are not going to give it to the south because we know the power blocks in the party are from the south. And the south have had the presidency. So they should tell us it's going to be microzone to the southeast. The south governors had put in so much resources in the party in the last 8 years. They were not ready to just back down. Maybe they wanted it to come to the south to negotiate with the southeast first. They say, no, give it to the south. Give it to the south first. Don't tell us what to do. Give it to the south. The northern part of the country says, we're a nation. You can't tell us give it to the south only, and we don't know what is going. We want to give it to the south because of this zone. But mind you, even in the north, we also have 3 zones in the north, and the northeast too have no rule. So it will also be fair if it's zoned to the northeast. And this problem ensued, and a committee was put, headed by Governor Autumn, and they refused to zone. And this was a problem. They refused to zone, and it was kept open for everybody to go and contest. And you know the outcome. And the current chairman says in a speech that if whatever happens and the candidate comes from the north, he will step down. And that was the plan. Unfortunately, this was no written document. It's a speech you talk here and there, and people have said many things and nobody has used it against them. So we cannot use that talk, but it was a real problem because the president is from one, presidential candidate is from one zone, the chairman is from one zone. But within the ranks, some of the issues were personal issues. And I was privileged to know some of those personal issues that seemed like betrayal. And you cannot lead a nation just because of some personal issues you have, that you feel somebody was supposed to do things personally to you and it wasn't done. So this became very difficult. But Atiku Abubakar said, look, it will be dicey now to just remove the chairman. Let's win the election, and immediately he will sign, he will step down. And these governors, they did not agree. But something why I said before that we also don't have good followers, because the party has a structure, those structures exist. The governors have their representative in the National Working Committee. The National Working Committee sat last year, about in October, and they gave a vote of confidence to the chairman. I mean, if governors are not happy, they should lobby the National Working Committee to give a vote of no confidence. And this would have been done fairly. So there are structures within the party, and those structures within the party are solid and sound. But just like we have even in South Africa, where people feel they're above the law, above the structure, what is the point of going for election when somebody wins and then you don't accept? Would I not accept if Buhari had won the election? I say he's not my president. He's my president. It doesn't matter how you feel. So the same thing should apply in the party. So we feel there's still negotiations going on. We're not aware of the kind of politicking strategies the G5 governors are trying to deploy or are playing. It's been dangerous, but we'll just have to wait to see. But at the end of the day, I can assure you that once this contest is over, then it's over. Then it's not going to be an issue of unifying Nigeria. It will be over. And what Atiku Abubakar said was that we saw impunity in the last 7 years from this government. If I come and just fire the chairman, then we will be starting again that precedence, putting the rule of law away. He doesn't want to start in that precedence. Even if you look at it as an excuse, people like us, we agree, because we saw what has happened in the country in the last 7 years. There's so many things that we're so much ashamed about. We cannot continue in that context.
Okay, that's explicit, because we, as Nigerians, we've been questioning the fact that this crisis in PDP seems to be a personality crisis. It's channeled at individuals, not really on the expectations of the people or the party itself, but it has to do with just few individuals within the party, what they feel, trying to protect their ego and all of that, feeling displaced, feeling they are not there because they're not there. They won't accept the current position of PDP structure. So therefore, there should be problems. It's one of those things in the leadership. Okay, we're going to go for a short break once again. When we return, we're going to be looking at the critical issues, something that just happened recently at Osun State. I'm going to be asking you what your views are in respect to this coming upcoming election. So let's go on break. It's still Afro politics discussion on Cleveland TV. We're on break now.
In the 21st century's technological advancement, we all seek opportunities to move and network with the emerging space. Introducing Clevenard blog and event posting. Do you think you have some interesting materials, good content, articles, and stories? Then feel free to publish them on Clevenard blog and events page, just as team of our writers are doing presently. By blogging on Clevenard's blogs and events, you benefit from our reach and network. There are constant stream of people visiting our social platform, and we have figured out just how to distribute our contents. This means you can basically skip the line and get access to a big audience from day one. Furthermore, we can help you get in touch with important people for projects with possibilities of translating your content into other languages and republishing them on Clevenard. This helps preserve and protect your content from getting lost. What's more, you also get to be part of our team with access to our network and lots of exclusives, behind-the-scenes information. And of course, you get full credit for everything you do, which brings you popularity and make extra income. Sign up now on clevenard.com and start blogging to your advantage. Please see the tutorial video on how to blog or post events on Clevenard blogs and events. For more information, contact info@clevenard.com +34 631 279811. Website www.clevenard.com. Clevenard, your blogs, your identity.
Hello viewers, you're welcome back on Cleveland TV in Diaspora. It's Afro politics discussion with Honorable Ekos, Akpokabayen. He's the chairperson of PDP South Africa. You're welcome back, sir. Before we go on break, we're talking about the structure of PDP, the current crisis, the looming crisis in PDP that is so concerning, that have taken a different new dimension. Okay, while we are talking about that, PDP had another shock recently that has to do with Osun State. The PDP governor there lost the seat at the tribunal. The tribunal that is headed by Justice Tese Kume sat Governor Ademola Adeleke for the PDP and declared the APC governor winner, something that shocked everybody. I don't know, these kind of things that are happening in Nigeria, especially at this time, we are having a notion that if care is not taken, something similar like this could happen next month after the election. Because how can you remove a sitting governor with the massive support we saw during the election? So I don't know what your views are on this very subject. I'll leave it to you. What do you think in this kind of scenario that a PDP sitting governor is being removed at the tribunal with the massive support we saw during the election?
Look, it's quite normal. I wish I was speaking on this as a neutral person so that my views don't look biased. But I'll try my best to, as a PDP chairman, people will think, viewers will think, oh, come on. Of course, what would I say? But technically, this is a huge shame because we've had elections in Ekiti state before we're having this election now. And even last 2 years, there was a test in Ondo State. So there'd been an election that the Beavers was used before the Osun State election, which was the last one. And in all those elections, the ruling party, the APC, had won. So we never saw any of these issues. This issue is very clear. I got someone about last year. They told me your governor is going to be removed, and I said, "What are you talking about?" They were very confident. So this was well orchestrated. The judiciary has been captured to a large extent, which we know. Unfortunately, there's not enough evidence to prove it, but the result shows. It's a lot of things are very shameful in Nigeria in the last 6 decades. So sometimes I don't get surprised when I get ashamed, but this is a very terrible moment. The man is loved by a majority of the people. It's well clear. It's very clear when you see it. People went to vote. They used the electronic voting system. It was very clear. Everything was done on the day. It was accepted. The election was free and fair. And then it goes to a tribunal. And how many months later, everything is turned and the votes are being cancelled? How is that going to happen? And just like you're saying, we're now afraid what is going to happen in the presidential election in some states if we can allow this to happen. So we're hoping. We've never seen things like this before in terms of turning this decision, but he has gone to appeal, which is great, and the citizens are protesting, which is great, but we want to see more pressure because this may be a big turning point in our democracy. This is very, very disgraceful.
It is very disgraceful. I tell you, this seems to have become a trend in this very dispensation. If you look at the issue of behavior of Imo State and against Uzodinma, this was actually what happened. Uzodinma was not the second at the poll, was not even the third, but he became the governor. So I think it calls for very proactive action on the citizens of Nigeria. We cannot watch the system deteriorate to this extent where someone will win an election and at the end of the day, he will be removed. The will of the people will be dashed. It is quite unfortunate. It is shameful. It is something we would not like to continue to see in Nigeria. And we hope and pray that Nigerians will be conscientized to a point where we will no longer see this kind of trend moving forward. So there is that. Now, I want us to look at the policies of our PDP. People have been hammering on policies. People have been reading out their policies. But the question is, it's not about reading out or memorizing these policies. Now, the question is, how do we implement the policies? How do you implement the policies that you have? I know PDP have their policies. I don't know which of the policies that stood out for you. And if you know the one that stood out for you, you can highlight for us what policy among the policies of PDP that stood out for you, and how do you think people are going to implement that policy should you win come February 2023?
One of the major the policies, and one of the things scholars and experts have condemned in our constitution is the powers that are called to the federal government and the presidency. And of course, the power is enormous, very powerful than most nations. And it's because this constitution was given to us by the military. And that's why when PDP was in power, we had a constitutional review, which this new government came and they put it on at the table. One of the things we are saying, a policy that is very important on how we can restructure. Of course, restructuring means different things to different people. But the main points of the restructuring is the security architecture in the country, the distribution of resources in the country. Everything goes to the federal government, then you distribute. That is one of the policy we are going to look at, because I'm interested more in the economy. And also we want, in terms of the CBN, Nigerians have been raped for decades on having two foreign exchange or three foreign exchange policy. It's just it's just a convenient corruption. It's a convenient way to destroy the economy. And this is something PDP is promising now to end. To end. This is an economy destroyer. We want to end that. And you need to be brave to end that. Of course, the subsidy is also one which we want to end in a responsible way. We want to open the borders. The borders is causing a lot of problem. I mean, just like how the military government do. They want to do one good thing, but they use one good thing to create 10 bad things. You need to research. You need to understand if you want to do this, if it's the right time to do it. You just close the border and it changes nothing. It destroys the economy. It creates unemployment. It creates banditry. The borders have been closed in the north. And so we want to open the borders and let it operate normally, to reduce insecurity, to create opportunity for people and all of that. So there's so many, and I can go on and on, what this coming administration, inshallah, by the grace of God, want to do for the country. Not just rhetoric talking and things that will never happen. Things that we know that are wrong, that are on ground, that we can change in terms of policy.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a very strong question now. This one will make you very uncomfortable because it's a question that has to do with your principal, His Excellency Elijah Bakati. We're talking about policies, we're talking about implementing those policies, trying to change the economy, trying to manage the security and all of that. But we as Nigerians, or many Nigerians out there, nursing the view that your principal is corrupt in so many ways because he's been fingered in many corrupt practices, like selling off some of the firms we have in Nigeria with peanuts, selling them off without considering the future, the potential of those companies, those firms. He sold them off just like that. And these are one of the things that people are accusing him of, has plunged the nation further into this present economic crisis. Now, the question is, how do you think that someone who has been fingered in those kind of practices will make any impact or do something different from what he has done before? Is he not coming back just to continue from where he started, or even plunge the country further into a more economic crisis? Because these have been the question of many Nigerians. How do we expect people who have been in governance for so many years, who are so corrupt, to do something differently this time? Do you think you have any confidence in your principle to do something differently this time?
Okay, look, it's not going to make me uncomfortable. And I personally wrote His Excellency in 2017 to come back home, to come and save the country. And we still believe we won the election in 2019. I was convinced by some of the people that are opposition now, right now, even the current APC presidential candidate, telling me this is the best person for Nigeria. I've gone through the archive, I've gone through history. and I know what happens. And some of them I can't say it now. Atiku has not been in government the way you say it. He was a vice president for 8 years. 4 years very active. The other 4 years because he opposed third term, and he even opposed the president coming again because the president at the time was put there because of MKO, and he was supposed to do 1 term, and things ensued. And then the president wasn't happy, and that's the sin of Atiku Abubakar. We know very clearly. And the president went to all length. For example, the president wrote in his book that the money Atiku has can feed how many generation and the whole Africa. I mean, and people believe those kind of things. And the same people come and say Atiku is broke and he doesn't have money. But you believe he has money that can feed the whole Nigeria for 50 years, but you now believe he's broke as well. So you have to choose one. So when politicians have the tools and they use the journalists and they pay them, we know how the journalists, a lot of them in Nigeria, they sit around in these high places and get paid to smear people. And they smear people I know. And some of these things, they stick. Because when you're successful in Africa, anything people say against you, it will stick. Once you can show that you are poor and you're not successful. Atiku has been running Intel since 1983. Intel is one of the biggest countries in Nigeria in logistics and employing over 200,000 people. It's no more a major shareholder of that company right now. So somebody who has been in business and who is very astute in what he's doing, knows what he's doing, and fought for our democracy, his life was almost lost. And then you come and smear the person as a vice president. He wasn't the president, he was the vice president. And in the last 4 years, his hands was tied. And saying he sold national assets, it doesn't work like that. Atiku is not the owner, just go and sell assets and pocket everything. I mean, people make these things look so easy. I mean, that's how they want to feed the public. So the president is very smart. They know what they are doing. They don't want him there. And I believe they know he's going to make Nigeria great and he will uncover a lot. And that's why they don't want to. In terms of being corrupt, how can a corrupt person, he's the one that wrote the recommendation that put the EFCC in the first place. And Rabiu, what was his name? I forgot his name right now. The first EFCC chairman. It was Atiku that brought it in and set it that. And even the president, if he wants to tell you the truth, the former president would tell you. And he's one of the most investigated people in Nigeria, and have not been founded to be guilty of anything. Until that happens, we say in law, we call it hearsay. It's just a hearsay. And Nigerians love hearsay.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, looking at it, your candidate is not the only one that is being accused. Other candidates were also accused. That's one thing we know about politics. So people have to dig out issues and try to see how competent these candidates are, because Nigeria is in a state where we don't just need a change, we need transformation at any level, every front, because our economy has deteriorated, our social fabrics is nothing to write home about. So we need to bring back Nigeria that we used to know. We need to take back our country. That's what every Nigeria is crying out for. We want a Nigeria that is peaceful, a Nigeria where lives and property are secured, a Nigeria that has quality education, a Nigeria that has good health facilities that can take care of the sick people, the old aged, etc., etc. We're a country with social security. That's what Nigerians are crying for, and these things are not there. We have politicians that travel abroad to have their treatment in France, in UK, in US. I mean, and these are the same people in government. Why? What stops them from building these facilities with the massive resources that we have? Why go to UK? Why go to France? Why go to United States to take medical care when they can actually build these things in Nigeria? This is why we have problems with these politicians. We don't really have problem with their personalities, but we have problem with their disposition. They have refused to shift from where they are to reality. The world is changing now. We no longer want stories. We don't want people to come and read policies for us. We want people who can execute policies who can convert policies into concrete physical action that will bring economic prosperity into the nation and Africa at large. So that's what it is. Now, what do you expect from Nigerians at this time, looking at the political space in Nigeria? And I want to believe that you understand very well that the political space in Nigeria have changed. It's no longer business as usual. There seems to be there's this awakening at this point. People are being sensitized, people are asking questions that have not been there. What do you expect from Nigerians when it comes to your political party? After that, I would like to know what you also would tell Nigerians, because Nigerians are looking up to you. How do you give them hope with all these things that are happening in our country?
Okay, look, what I expect from Nigeria and the hope I want to give Nigeria, I'll take it one at a time. What we must realize is that sometimes we forget where we are coming from. And I used to tell some of my employees as a company, once you know where you're coming from, you can appreciate. Even no matter what anybody says, sometimes when we compare all the time, we lose sight to the progress we have made as a nation. And some of this progress are tied to humanity and civilization we've experienced. And it's unfortunate, but we expect more. So we must first appreciate where we have come as a nation. Sometimes when I go to Nigeria, when I see some of the changes in the airport, even if they are small, the new terminal build, the train stations, and some changes. Sometimes people are very quiet about these things that there's no change. When anyone wants to celebrate any change, it looks like an enemy of real change. A lot of countries are also having difficulties. The position where we are 220 million people, different religions, two major religions, different languages, it's quite difficult. When we get it right, we'll be on the path of progress and speedily progress. So we're not just saying Nigerians should be patient because we know people are suffering and those who are suffering. But we know there's a deficit of educating our people. A population of our people do not have access to education. A vast population of our people do not have the quality of access you have now, like the internet. And this will affect the way the election turns out. And it's unfortunate. And those people are Nigerians, they have the same right to vote, and their vote will count with the same amount as you, even if you have 10 degrees, 10 bachelor degrees. It doesn't matter. And we have a lot of vast population of these people, especially in Nigeria. And this enforces my decision on how we can take vast majority of those people out of poverty. And while people in the urban cities, they are looking at their lives in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Onitsha, in Abuja, and they also want their lives to be good. So, but the Nigeria, all these different people see are not the same Nigeria. So we are trying to factor everybody into the Nigeria we see. And we have been proposing that for a long time. But I want to give hope that this is a history. These are things that were supposed to happen. Nigeria is supposed to go through what it's going through. We've been depleted. Our resources have been taken by our leaders, by our foreign leaders as well. We've been put in a corner. Our oil has been stolen, conniving with other nations. And this is not only the politicians. And I would say that we're coming from a history where the militaries have been involved, and they took off the uniform and the war civilian uniform, and they continue to do the same thing. So we've not yet escaped, and it's not happening in our lifetime. And we're sure that this will be a generation, we call them the baby boomers. The baby boomers are those that were born within this time, and their time is slowly going. We are trying to fight them, but we are also learning. They will go, and that's why I wrote in my book. So I'm very hopeful that we time and what we have from this kind of generation, not just trying to single-hand the politicians, the this or the that. I look at it holistically. And even when I look at my families or friends' families and all of that, we see some of the Nigerian problems with some of this generation that had things differently and they saw the world differently. Unfortunately, they're in the hands of power. We have to be patient. We couldn't chase them out early enough. And we have to be patient. Those get out of the scene. Some of them are in the military, guys. One is still the president. Others are still behind endorsing people. They've not let us rest in the 1960s. surely it will happen soon.
Okay, before we go, you've said a lot this afternoon. Yes, I really appreciate your stance, and you've been able to take us through some of these pressing questions. But now, before we go, what would be your advice to Nigerians in South Africa in particular? Because you are the PDP chairperson in South Africa. I would like you to convey a message to every Nigerian in South Africa, not just as a PDP chairperson, but as a leader who lives in South Africa and who is in our community, Nigerian community, as a leader in the Nigerian community in South Africa. What would be that strong message you're going to leave behind today for every Nigerian out there?
My message has always been constant. Every Nigerian is an ambassador of our nation. Everywhere you stand, you have to obey the rule of law. You have to be proud in a humble way. You have to appreciate the country that hosts you. You have to pray for God to bless this land and heal this land. You have to have concern and show concern of this nation. That when you go to bed, you sleep in South Africa, you breathe the air, you are here. So you also have to bless this nation and respect it so that it can bless you too. And also, we here, Nigerians here have to call people back home and give your views, encourage them to get their voters card, to participate in the electoral process, and encourage them to have hopes about their country. Because it's the only country we have. There's nowhere like home, no matter how long you stay at. Home is home, and home still remains the best. But most especially, the one thing I always want to pride Nigerians to do, and this is what I do, and sometimes I always get the question that when you respect this country, you respect the people of this country, they even say you are not a Nigerian. And it hurts me. Even when I smile, it hurts me. When I'm stopped on the road and I'm speaking normally to the police or the traffic, they argue with me that no, you're not a Nigerian. Because you're not shouting, you're not fighting, anything. And these are the simple things Martin Luther King said we should do. We should honor ourselves, we should honor others, and we should honor God. Once you do that, you will live a very simple and happy life, and you will make your country proud.
Thank you so much. We are blessed to have you this afternoon. It's been a wonderful time having you on this studio, and we look forward in the nearest future to having you again. Thank you. We really appreciate. I also want to thank our viewers out there who has kept pace with us within this space of time. It's Afro Politics on Cleveland TV, and it's been with Honorable Ekos, Akpokabayen, the PDP chairman, South Africa. So we really want to thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for coming. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Professor Stanley. Thank you so much. Thank you to your team. And I want to say thank you to the viewers for listening and hearing my views, and may God bless you all.
Thank you. And for my crew, I want to say a big thank you for keeping it on, keeping the light on at this point, to this moment. Thank you so much. It's still Cleveland TV in diaspora, and our business is still to highlight Africans, to take Africa to the rest of the world, celebrating our achievements. That's what it is. And for now, I would like to say bye. See you next time.